Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Center. Live it anywhere, take it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button. Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Center. Live it anywhere, take it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button. Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Center. Live it anywhere, take it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button. Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Center. Live it anywhere, take it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button. Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Center. Live it anywhere, take it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button. Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Center. Live it anywhere, take it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button. Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Center. Live it anywhere, take it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button.
Hello, welcome back to Talk Sports, where the beautiful game never sleeps. We've got title triumph, top four dramas, and European showdowns all on today's agenda. So let's get right into it. My name is Adem Shego, and I'll be your host on tonight's Talk Sports on Premier Sport Fast Center. I'm not alone to dissect all this beautiful, news going around the world of sport. Also joining me in the studio is Paulo tonight. I'm donning that Arsenal jersey. Good evening, Paulo.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for having me once again. Always excited to be here, especially when we sit down to, dissect everything I've gone on in the world of sport in the last 7 days. So I'm excited to be here.
Okay, let's kick started from the England, where we have Liverpool, who are the champion elect of the EPL. They're gone, yes, the 20th time they'll be crowned the champions of the EPL. Talking straight to you, Paulo, Liverpool are EPL champions for 2024-2025. Out the slot, first season magic come to life. This is his first season in the EPL, and we have slots winning the EPL for the first time. Beautiful moment for Liverpool. Who would have thought of it when the season started that come May, it's going to be slots and the slots winning the EPL, even ahead of Arsenal. The Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, who has tried, I think, about 4 or 5 seasons right now, still without a EPL title with Arsenal. Let's just hope that probably next season Mikel Arteta will be getting a deserved EPL title. He deserves one, yes, because he is also a good manager. We all know where he brought Arsenal from, and we all know where Arsenal has been competing for the past 3 seasons. It's just unfortunate for 2 of their last 3 seasons that they had to compete with an extraordinary Manchester City. But this season, Manchester City are also struggling. But in came and a slot from Netherlands, and just magically he just won himself the league in the first time. Though there've always been the argument that yes, he met a very good squad, a Polish squad left by the former manager Jurgen Klopp. So I'll be going straight to Paulo to tell us how the slot for season magic come to life.
Whereas not many give him the chance of him winning the league. When he came in fact, at the beginning, he requested for some players, but due to Liverpool's financial issue, they couldn't, got him those players he wanted. At the end of the day, they only got him, I think, Federico Chiesa. And it was, in fact, the last day of the transfer window, and even that. This season, to be honest, we've not seen much of Federico Chiesa because he has been injured, and even when he's not injured, he hardly play. But we must give credit to Arne Slot. Like you rightly said, some will argue that he met a well-balanced, team compared to Arteta when he took over. Arsenal. He didn't really twerk much. He only added probably. It's still even the same. Tactics being used from Jurgen Klopp, but the only difference is that in the midfield he had he gave playing time to Gravenberch. To me, that was the only difference because every other players were also starting during the time of Jurgen Klopp. But he really, it took the league by surprise. At first people were saying it's going to lose, He keep on winning. I think they went about at the time they went about 20 games without losing any game. And we must give credit to Arne Slot. He has done what a lot of managers have not been able to do in England. I think he's the 5th manager now that will be winning the league in their first season, joining the likes of Jose Mourinho, Manuel Pellegrini, Antonio Conte, and is it Carlo Ancelotti also. So credit to him. He has done fantastic work with Liverpool.
Yeah, you have to give credit to who credit. It's well due to Arne Slot. Congratulations to him and Liverpool on winning the EPL 2024-2025 season. Yes, we have to talk about it. Coming into the season, we all thought probably Arsenal was going to win the EPL this season. But what were the turning points this season that cemented the Liverpool's title run?
Well, I think the turning point will be based on consistency. Looking at the two teams, people were expected to go head to head again. Manchester City and Arsenal, then Liverpool coming close behind them. Despite the new changes, there are still some of us that believe that Liverpool will still, push. But we never expected Liverpool to, go as far as they've gone this season. But the turning point is the consistency, from the team. And if you could look at Liverpool 11, I think compared to Arsenal, Manchester City, they have a consistent 11 for almost probably all the games of the season. Some will argue that they had the likes of the right back. Now, what's his name? Arnold. I had injury at the point, but there are some key areas you don't, you can miss players in those key areas and still, recover. You don't miss key player like that central defense. You have 5 and 6. Some will still say Konate at the time, but Konate didn't go out for up to 7 league game.
And in Queensland they have another.
Yeah, and they have another, quality, that was able to cover. If they had missed the likes of Virgil van, I think Virgil van Dijk has been one of the players that have played virtually all the whole minute. And we know, a team having the likes of Virgil van Dijk, coordinating those defense, you get a lot of chance with that. And there's Mo Salah also, the Egyptian who has taking the league by storm this season. And the likes of Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz, and Diego Jota, all contributing. So and the Liverpool midfield itself. The Liverpool the midfielders, talking about Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai, they were all consistent, and I can't remember any of those three, going through any injury issue. So I think the availability of those players was actually the main reason they were able to go ahead.
Okay, you can hear that. Says if you are looking for the reasons why Liverpool actually went on to win the EPL, it has to be consistency on the part of Arne Slot and his boys this season. Talking about Arne Slot now, and lastly, has he secured legendary status in English football?
Well, I don't really think so. It's unless you want to say every manager that wins it for the first time should be become a legend. He only won the league. He didn't want any other thing. They were not beaten by I think Newcastle in the League Cup final, and dumped out by I think one of the team from
PSG. PSG dumped
no, I'm not even talking about Europe. When you talk about England, in the FA Cup, I think they were dumped out by the team from Championship. I'm trying to remember Plymouth.
Yeah.
So you can't say that. If you are saying that, definitely Claudio Ranieri will also be, so I think even Claudio Ranieri even have more chance, of becoming a legendary manager when it comes to English football than him, because looking at how he took Leicester City from, a team battling relegation, then certainly. So though it's still early days, let's see how he goes on with Liverpool in the next coming 2-3 seasons.
Again, that season we'll love to see if it's actually a flick or it's actually the brilliance of the manager and the Slot that won Liverpool the EPL. Can they do back to back like Pep Guardiola did it with Manchester City all the time? We tell. And to our viewers, here's a question that you can provide answers to in our comment section. Is this the greatest Liverpool team of the club era? Let us know in the comment section. Alright, straight away to one of the relegated team, Ipswich Town. They've gone from glory to gloom. Talking about Ipswich Town, to their return to the top flight started strongly. So where exactly did it went wrong for them?
Well, I think during the January transfer window, they could have gone in and strengthened the squad more, because at the beginning of the season, a lot of people, I was part of those that also believe that those three teams are just coming down, they will definitely go. But having seen the signings they made and the managers they have, to be honest, those managers of those okay, Ipswich Town in particular, I don't think that manager, what's his name, McKenna, Karen McKenna, would have been enough for them. It was linked at the time with Chelsea.
Manchester
if you had gone to Chelsea or Manchester United, I think they would still struggle. But the only difference is that the club Chelsea itself and the kind of the players they've got will be the only factor, at least to push them up for. But for Ipswich Town, I think they started brilliantly. A lot of people were giving them credit. The first match, I think, even it was against Liverpool, and I think the game ended by a long goal.
Yes,
yeah, and you could see that their pattern of play, and they really wants to progress. But as the league goes to, towards the ending of that was last year. That was the first stage. You could see that the team is running out of steam. They brought in Calvin Phillips. He
hardly played for them. He hardly
played, and the mistake I think they made was not strengthening that squad during the January transfer window. And that was the mistake actually. And it's among those three teams that came from the championship, I think they were the best, but the best wasn't enough.
Okay, we have to look at some of the best players at Ipswich Town. Yes, the manager McKenna won. We talk about Leander Lapp and also Omari Hutchinson. Is there any chance of those three, guys staying with Ipswich Town in the championship?
It's going to be a very hard one, because looking at Ipswich Town at the moment, I think the last 3 games, if I'm right, they've been what's his name now? Delap has been coming from the bench. I think the team has, though he was injured at the time, but since he came back, they've been playing him from the bench. I think the team have this, they've decided to see, let's play without this player. In the case of we don't have him, in the championship, how are we going to cope? But I think the other guys might stay. But Delap, there has been a lot of rumors or speculations about him moving to Chelsea, Manchester United, even Manchester City, because he was a former player also.
They have a buyback.
Yeah, so
Buyback clause.
it will. I don't. It will be very difficult. I don't want to rule it out that it's going to be with them in the championship, but it will be very, very difficult. I see him, remaining in the Premier League come next season. But the likes of Omari Hutchinson, he recently joined them also, but I think he helped them but I think he will stay with them. But right, Delap, I don't see him staying there.
Okay, we'll be waiting to see in the transfer market when the transfer window is open to see who is going to leave Ipswich Town and join a club in the EPL. And should the fans be proud of this performance they gave in the 2024-2025 season, or is a disappointing one from the fans' view?
Well, I think the fans should be proud of the team, because it was unexpected of them, at the beginning. Because I could remember there was a time I had a friend, I think about 3 or 4 seasons ago, we were discussing about Ipswich Town because they went down to, I think, the League One. Then we were discussing, there was this current, there was, what we were discussing there, because they were the only team that, stayed in the championship for about 23 seasons without moving up or going down, not until they moved down. So they came back again. I think their first attempt in League One, they came back again, started pushing again, and you could see the fans, they're always with them, and happy. One of their biggest fans, talking about Ed Sheeran, always
and they went through a lot. Yeah, there was a time during the first part of the season they had to play away from their stadium, because they had to upgrade the stadium to to the EPL standard. Okay, to the fans, yes, where do you think Ipswich went wrong? You can drop your thought down below in the comment section, and let's see what you actually think about Ipswich now. And straight to the top 4 fight and magic going on in the EPL. Yeah, 4 matches of 5 teams and 1 goal, which is to qualify or be part of the top 4. Which of Newcastle, Manchester City, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, and Villa looks most likely to steal a top 4 spot, and who is bottling it?
Well, I think at this moment,
now it's 5. It's 5 actually going to the UCL.
Yeah, but a lot of people want to say Liverpool have already made it, and probably had Arsenal, due to the
so from 3rd, 4th, and 5th,
but,
3 spots.
So we've still got 3 spots left. Though Arsenal, they've not automatically, or mathematically qualify, but I don't really see Arsenal, dropping out from, they might drop from 2nd, but I don't see them, moving out. But for the rest teams, like you mentioned, I think it's looking very, very what I'm calling it, very, very difficult or hard now for some of those things. Look, yesterday we saw Nottingham Forest, a team that at a point occupied 2nd position in the league, and sitting on the 3rd position for a very long time. Now they've dropped to, I think, 6th on the table now, and it's looking very difficult. But to me, I think Nottingham Forest will not make it, because they are beginning to lose form now, and they are not performing like the way they've been performing in the last 6, 7 games ago. I think they are presently now, at the moment now, I think the last 5 matches they've only won 1. Including the FA Cup, they've only won 1. So I don't think they will make it, but I think Manchester City and Chelsea, probably Newcastle will make it. So Villa and Nottingham Forest, it's going to be very hard for them.
You can hear that from Paulo. He expects Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa to actually bottle it in the EPL run in games. And let's talk about Manchester City showing signs of vulnerability, or we're just not used to this level of competition, or they are not just used to this level of competition.
You mean when it comes to challenging for
this season they've actually looked off?
Well, you can only say that, after the arrival of, is it the Arab, we call it, say the Arab morning. We know Manchester City, where they used to be before in the league, not until the likes of, they appointed, it started under, I think, Marcouch, and when the Saudi, what they call them again, is the Abu Dhabi group that, took over the team, but, they've grown from, where they used to be to where they want to be, but at the moment now they are currently struggling. For Manchester City, I just want to believe it's as a result of probably loss of form and injury to players. At the beginning of the season, we saw what happened to one of the key players. Yeah, Rodri. I think is
it was against your team.
Yeah, again, yeah. The current is it Ballon d'Or?
Yeah, Ballon d'Or winner.
So I think his absence actually is one of the reasons, and they have an aging squad. Looking at the likes of Kevin De Bruyne with injury, Ruben Diaz, Ake, and what's his name again? The guy from Switzerland, Manuel Koji. They've not had a consistent team, and they've really struggled. They sold one of their best players last season also, talking about Julian Alvarez. And I think it's also one of the reasons, leaving only Ellen Haaland to carry the team up front. And though he tried his best before he also got injured, but I think, there are a lot of factors. You had injury, form, and aging player to it.
Okay, is it possible we see them coming back in the season to competing for honors in the EPL?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, and despite we saying Manchester City lose form, this season they've not gotten there, but they can still go ahead and win a trophy this season because they're in the finals of the FA Cup, and it's possible. They
have Crystal Palace to play.
Yeah, and they still have Pep Guardiola with the team, and I want to believe they're going to back him, and we'll see a new Manchester City next season, and they will be challenging for the titles again.
Okay, yes, let's say we'll be having a new Manchester City come next season in the EPL, challenging for the EPL honors. To our viewers again, you can predict the final five who are going to finish in the top five. No fancy to this time around who is in and who do you think is out of finishing in that top five in the EPL. Straight to the Arsenal factor. Promises collapse and repeat. Yes, FA Cup gone, EPL gone, UCL, that's the Champions League, is shaking. Is Arsenal season about to end in classical outbreak?
Well, at the beginning, like we've said earlier on, there were a lot of expectation on Arsenal and to push Manchester City, like they've done for the past two seasons. But we also talked about how Manchester City collapsed very early in the season. I think Arsenal also suffered, form injury and every other thing. But at a point in the season, they were able to resurrect themselves, keep pushing, and there were a lot of expectation that they will, or hopes rather, that they can still get the league. But at a point, after the injury to I think Bukayo Saka, that was when it was really clear that the team will not be able to push or challenge for the title, because we saw during the January transfer window the board failed to strengthen the team, and you losing you in fact almost the whole front three, because the injury to Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, even Martinelli was out injured, including Bukayo Saka. So that was the reason Arsenal couldn't challenge. But FA Cup they were dumped out, Carling Cup they were dumped out, and presently now in the Champions League, the last hope. It's looking shaky, like you said, but it's not all lost. But they still had one opportunity to right the wrongs right now.
Okay, yes, White talking about Arsenal shaky season. One person in his club is actually having a good in the La Liga and also still in the competing well in the Champions League. They've also won themselves the Copa del Rey. Talking about the dog, a Barcelona fan. Good evening, the dog.
Good evening, Checo. Thanks for having me here. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, Paulo.
Yeah.
Glad to be part of this crew. Love to be here all the time. And yes, thank you for recognizing the grace upon Barca this year. I'll call it the grace because when Barca started this season, it was as if we were parading children. And Xavi didn't want to parade the children again as he did last season, quote and unquote, and he decided to speak up, and then management didn't like it, and management gave him the boots. So Hansi Flick got the job. He wanted the children, and we were like, well, whatever happens, let's just not be embarrassed. However it is, we must not suffer to Madrid again like we did last season. Barca was beaten by Madrid 2 or 3 times last season. Only 1 draw in the season, and that was very poor, in the last 4 episodes of meeting. And that was not like Barca. So this season we came in looking forward to seeing a Barca that will at least compete. They started pretty well, and somehow they maintained the tempo. And up till now, they have kind of maintained the tempo. grabbing the Super Cup spanner, which was not just a shield anymore. It's not just between the winner of the FA versus winner of the league. It's now a 4-team tournament. You have to play semi-finals and play final. And they defeated Madrid woefully, 5-2 at the finals. And it was really encouraging. And the hope rose a lot, that Barca was awoke. And then a continued defeat and defeated other giants, breaking Bayern Munich's back, defeating Dortmund up and down. And then here they are, semi-finals of the Champions League with Copa del Rey in hand. And hope for, of course, what it means is in La Liga, they are top by 4 points ahead of Madrid. And they're still going to play Madrid next week. So having defeated Madrid 3 times this season, there's a lot of hope that they will either play draw or defeat Madrid. So the points might be shared or Barca gets it. So that gives Barca an edge, and that reduces the chance of Madrid equalizing or leapfrogging Barca for the league. So it's been a good season for Barca, really, if you ask me. And thank you for recognizing that.
Why the dog can go lyrical again about Barcelona with Sao Paulo, still trying to give excuses on why Arsenal really struggled on this season. Yes, the dog. Firstly, is this a squad problem for Arsenal, or is it a mentality issue, or does the blame sit on Arteta's feet?
Yeah, well, you can't blame Arteta all the way because just like I said last season, Xavi had kids to play with, and he showed. 2 seasons before, he had them too, but he was able to manage because it was not a good season for Madrid and Atletico. Okay, they didn't get this number of points to win in the season before. So Madrid had a bad season, and that's how they could win with Xavi. It wasn't like Xavi was exceptional. You could tell from where they dropped out at the Champions League level. They were thrown off at the second round. And this season, Arteta has done a great job. I think Arteta should be given a lot of credit. Having molded middle-class players, should I say average players, over the last 3-4 seasons, inclusion of players like Pepe, who they thought should add value, but they were flops. They had to let them go. So, looking at the squad Arsenal has, most of them are from the academy. They graduated from the academy. Lewis Kelly, the performers there, except the likes of Rice that was bought, and the rejects of Chelsea, Kai Havertz, and the likes of them that they acquired. So, Teta has really made a good use of his quote-unquote mess that he got. And he has molded them to challenge for trophies. He has challenged for the league, the EPL, for 3 seasons in a row. Second. And that's a very great feat, having those kind of players. These are not players that can be paraded for Ballon d'Or. Do you understand? Man City that they challenged last season had about 3 or 4 that were in line for Ballon d'Or. They will possibly make top 10 or top 12 Ballon d'Or. Arsenal possibly had only Saka in top 20.
Altogether, I think altogether also make top 20.
Top 20, max. So you're talking. So you look at the kind of players they had. So look at what he has done with the kind of players they had. He has molded the team, and then but it still needs to have hatchet men. It needs to have game winners who could come in and perform wonders, like what Lamine Yamal did for Barca against Inter Milan. Inter Milan was leading at home, away, 2-0. The spirit of the players was down. Lamine had to pull something out of the hat, dribbled his way into the 18, and took a shot right into the corner, got them a goal. And that's the kind of player, those are the kind of players you need to win events, to win trophies. So if you have Saka can't do it alone. You're going to need more players to do that. Arteta doesn't have those kind of players. So I can't put all the blame on Arteta. I'm going to put a lot of blame on the board because the way they select, the way they play in the transfer windows, it's like they don't want to win. They just want to participate in the top 4 and be present in Champions League, get all the money accrued for progression, and then just stay back without, fighting for. Because if you must fight for that trophy, you must fight for the players with Man City, with United, with Chelsea, with Real Madrid, and with Barca. I don't think I've seen Arsenal fought for any player in recent times against those top 5 or 6 that I mentioned. So you can't blame Arteta.
All right, you can hear that from the dog. There's no blame for Arteta. You rather blame the Arsenal board, for not giving him the needed players in the 2024-2025 season. The market is almost open. We'll be seeing what they'll be making. They have a new director of football in what's his name? Petra, yeah, the former Atletico Madrid director of football. We'll be seeing what he'll be bringing to Arsenal. Yes, to our viewers, Arsenal butlers are just unlucky this season. You can comment with your verdict in the comment section. We move straight to Newcastle, who says no to any bid for Ishak. Is Alexander Ishak now Newcastle untouchable player?
Well, I don't think so, but probably the reason they are saying no bid at the moment, though we don't know if it's coming from the board or the player himself. You look at different factors for Newcastle to say it's untouchable at the moment. They've looked at the position they are on the table, because they're likely going to make it to the Champions League, and if you're going to make impact in the Champions League, you need your best players. And looking at Alexander Isak at the moment in the Premiership in England, I don't think you count 5 players without mentioning Alexander Isak with what he has done with Newcastle. Not just this season, we saw it from even the season he joined. I think it's about 3 seasons now with them there. And for Newcastle, they are planning for the future, and they want to be in the Champions League. And you being in the Champions League, you can't lose a player like that to probably your rivals. But having said that, if Newcastle fail to make it to the Champions League, I think Alexander Isak will definitely go. It's about bringing the right amount to get it.
Okay, the doc talking about the right amount. Do you think Newcastle will be selling Ishak if they have something of over 100 million pounds bid for him?
I think Newcastle will be making a huge mistake if they let Isaac go, because money is not their problem. When the gentleman from Arabia bought Newcastle, he was acknowledged to be the richest owner in the world of football, worth about $219 billion alone, as in is in the top 20 of the world richest people. So it's not money for them. It's just like asking Man City to let go of their best players when they are contesting for trophies. So for Newcastle to decide to allow Isaac to go will be miserable to their context. They want to put themselves in the mark. Newcastle had been a very strong team back in the 60s and 70s. And when I was growing up, Newcastle was one of those clubs we used to hear of, especially with the gentleman Alan Shearer in the 80s, and through the 90s, and quite a number of them back in the days. I remember a lot of people used to take bets, and one of those names you will hear: Liverpool will lose, Newcastle will lose.
Even when they had the likes of the Nigerians,
Martin,
the Shola brothers,
all those guys went to. So Newcastle was one of those top teams back then, and they receded a lot, but they're picking themselves up and finding their feet. So I don't believe allowing Alexander Isak to go right now for any amount. Do you know that Barca was offered $400 million for Lamine Yamal? Of course, they won't allow them to take him, because that is the future of the club. That is what makes everybody want to pay or to sign the club on or support the club. The moment Messi left, a lot of subscribers and sponsors left. But now they will be coming back because there's another sensational kid in there. So Isaac is their sensational person at Newcastle. So for no amount, I don't think Newcastle will be doing themselves good by letting him go.
Well, I don't think so. I don't agree with Doug, because we saw with Manchester City last season, or this season rather, they sold, what was his name now?
Julian Average. Average actually wants to start.
He wants to start, but Manchester City could still, hold him.
And he wasn't a starter. It wasn't.
He was coming up, but if he had stayed,
but Alvarez stood no chance of starting.
No. Average wanted to leave.
So that's when you now bring on the issue of Alexander Isak if he wants to go. And let us also remind you that
commanding a lot of attention in Newcastle
at the beginning of the season due to some financial issue. They had to let go one of their.
But these guys don't have financial issues.
No, they had, because they had to let go of is it Baleba, what they call it, the guy at Brighton.
No, that was FFP. That was FFP 1-1.
Yeah, also. But what I'm trying to say is that if Newcastle fails to make it to the Champions League come next season, Islands under Isak will definitely put in a transfer request, because there are a lot of clubs that
But how many clubs can pay what Newcastle are asking for? That's another question.
Maybe in the region of 100.
You're actually on the south of 100, not in the region of
But
100. On the
I
south
think
of
with 100 million pounds.
you think?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll left to see it. Is Arsenal going to take 100 million pounds for
And
Bukayo
that's
Saka? Are you
if-
guys going to sell Bukayo Saka for 100 million pounds?
Well,
Would you sell Bukayo Saka
and,
for 100?
what's his name? Isak. They are different
Ah,
scenarios.
No. Would
I
you
need
sell
a yes
Bukayo-
or
different zero.
no.
No, I'm
If
not
a
part of
yes
the
or
team.
No, but
You
would
know,
Arsenal
you
sell
like
Bukayo for
it.
100?
100 or more.
Would
100
you
or more,
sell
but
Bukayo Saka?
Isak is not good for 100 or more.
You don't get what I'm saying. There are teams that can buy him for 105, 100 plus. That's what I'm trying to say. If they get at least in the region of 100 or probably more, they'll definitely sell him. I'm not
If
saying
Arsenal
100.
gets a bid of 100 million pounds for Bukayo Saka today, are they going to sell him?
Well, at the moment, I don't think so.
So you don't have to think for Newcastle.
Exactly.
Again, to the Newcastle fans, if you were Alexander Isak, would you stay at Newcastle or chase European glory elsewhere? You can always put your answers in the comment section. We promise to read them out. Let's go straight to the UEFA Champions League reviews. Arsenal 4, Barca, Inter Milan thriller in the semi-final. Arsenal 0, PSG 1 at the Emirates. Was this a tactical masterclass by PSG coach, or just a lack of finishing from the Gunners?
I think for one, the Gunners actually put in a good display of football, but they couldn't get the target. Now, they still lack that element. That scoring element was missing. Odegaard was absolutely missing in the game. Rice was not up to what he was in the previous game against Madrid. I think it was just Saka and Martinelli that made, some efforts up front. But PSG had players who were pretty mobile, and these guys are pretty fast, cohesive. Just like we said previous week, they have a very wonderful midfield. Yeah, those guys they're wonderful, and their wing backs are pretty active. Hakimi, Nunes on this side, they are almost unstoppable. So their attack was overwhelming to Arsenal for a long period of time. But Arsenal didn't do badly, losing by 1-0 to PSG, because the expectation was that it could have been more. The goal came in early, remember?
40 minutes.
And then throughout the game, there was no other goal. So it was a situation where Arsenal could have equalized. They actually took a lot of shots. They had a lot of chances. But Donnarumma was all over the place. It was spread like, these balloons that you use in Christmas, and you spread them all over. That's how it was at the goalpost, just stopping everything coming. Even people, not just ball. So I think Arsenal still has a chance when they go to Paris. They can still make something out of it. But it's more difficult now, because in Paris, you're going to get a lot of fans supporting their home team, and a lot of noise can swerve the attentions of the referees, which may work against Arsenal. But Arsenal did it at the Bernabeu with all the windows closed.
But the first leg, yes, at the Bernabeu, they were leading 3-0. They were leading 3-0.
No, but the
advantage.
Bernabeu
First
was
leg,
supposed
first
to
leg
be a
advantage.
remontada.
So
if you want to
so
compare that
it's
to Dortmund and Barcelona.
Arsenal are the one going for Remontada at Paris.
Yeah, okay, look at Dortmund, Barca.
How can us really work? Straight to you, Paulo. Yes, after that 1-0 loss, not 3-0 loss. There've been lots of questions from Arsenal fans. We've seen a lot of analysis. Online coaches now talking about that Arsenal really missed Thomas Partey. That probably if Thomas Partey was in that starting 11, Arsenal wouldn't have lost that game against PSG. Do you share in that
Yeah,
bias?
I agree with that, because Thomas Factor is one of the key players at the moment now. Driving that Arsenal midfield. With the asset of Thomas Partey, Declan Rice had to draw back.
Well, Declan Rice on the good days a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, but for Arsenal this season, he has been playing as the number 8 for Arsenal. You see him popping.
So there's not a problem with him going back to play his primary position.
Well, you can. He actually did his best. He tried, but it wasn't enough. Compared to when he was given that role to roam free, because you see the way Arsenal play. Once Arsenal is with the ball, you always see Declan Rice inside the box. Lewis Kelly dropping back, but against Manchester City, you see him standing. Against PSG, that you see him at the back there. And for a player that has been playing as the number 8 for more than 20 matches in a row, and it's not easy just coming back. And it's at the same time, you see the likes of what's his name now, the makeshift striker. Merino, he has been playing as that number 9. He was also brought back, but I think Arsenal really missed Thomas Partey, and I want to believe Thomas Partey is going to make the difference come next week.
I pray he'll be available for that return leg, because I'm praying you guys lose 3-0 in that game at Paris. I just pray it's going to end 3-0 in favor of
we'll definitely do that, Remotonda.
We'll be there to talk about that. So straight to the interesting one, the thriller which happened yes between Barcelona and Inter Milan. Inter Milan running straight into 2-0 lead, and Barcelona came back to draw level at 2-2. Inter got the third goal. Barcelona came back with another beautiful goal from Rafinha in that encounter, and that is one of the UEFA Champions League game of the season. It was a roller coaster, no doubt. The doc, does this result shows a shift in European power, or it's just a knockout chaos?
Presently, I think there's a shift in powers in Europe. And what this Champions League, this particular edition has proven is that there is no big name in football right now. It is your present status that determines where you get to. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that a couple of times before, but this year it was pretty clear. Look at the way Arsenal demolished Real Madrid, the big Real Madrid, home and away. And see the way PSG ousted Liverpool. So it's not a function of you having the big names, the big stars, the big boys. This time it's about what your team can bring to the table or bring to the pot when it's time to cook. And then you join the party. And that's what happened. So even with the tiny boys and the small boys of Barca, the Pedri, the Gavi, the small boys, 17, Lamine Yamal, they dealt with Bayern Munich, they dealt with Dortmund, they dealt with a lot of big names across the way, and they're there where they are right now. So presently, it's a question of what is your team worth, and that's what Inter is also putting on the table. Inter has demolished all their opponents mercilessly, and they got to where they are. They are considered the least in Europe at the moment in terms of goals, and that's wonderful. And they don't have the best goalkeeper. Sommer is not one of the top 5 goalkeepers in Europe, and he's doing a wonderful job at it. You have to count Donnarumma, you have to put the likes of Courtois, you have to bring in I don't want to say you have to bring in Maignan, but I think Maignan is a better keeper than him. They're from the same country, and Maignan he deputizes for Maignan. So,
somebody's from what's it called?
Switzerland.
Denmark. Oh, sorry. Pardon me for that.
Switzerland, yeah.
So we're looking at these players, and these teams are presently the best they have in Europe, and it is on the field of play that you can determine that, not by the numbers accrued to them by PlayStation or by FIFA. No, that's not counting here. So that's the present position. And the way I see this shift, look at the way the matches went in the semi-finals. Against all odds, Arsenal was supposed to win at home, at least, and then possibly go and fight for a draw. And Barca was supposed to win that match against Inter, but Inter kept scoring. It just kept coming. It couldn't stop coming. Even when they equalized, they still went back and scored. Even after that, they still scored, if not for the foot of Mkhitaryan, it would have been 4-3. Although Barca had their own chances to take to, which they didn't take or something. So the way it sat at the end of the day one of semi-finals, it looked very good, and it gives you a lot of room. It actually increases the volume of viewers and participants for the second leg. This is not a case where one team has virtually won and then people have retreated and they just go home and sleep. Everybody is looking at, and the bookmakers are looking at which side is it going to, and that increases the audience, and that's what UEFA wants. That's what FIFA wants. They want to see the suspense, and they want to feel the tension in the air, which is what we will be feeling this coming week. And I tell you, it's not going to be funny at all.
Okay, it seems like there's still everything to fight for and play for in the UEFA Champions League. Yes, in the Europa League, it was Manchester United defeating Bilbao 3-0 in that encounter away at Bilbao, and also Tottenham Hotspur taking a 3-1 victory over Bodo into the second leg in Norway. And also in the UEFA Conference League, Chelsea defeated Just Getting 4-1 in that encounter, and also Real Betis defeated Fiorentina 2-1. So there's still a bit to play for in the return leg of that one. And going straight into the preview of the UEFA Champions League, Barcelona against Inter and PSG against Arsenal. Doing this way, you take the PSG Arsenal game. What are the chances in the second leg?
PSG Arsenal. Why don't I take the
No,
Barca?
I want you to take the PSG.
Okay, so PSG Arsenal. I wonder why Shegun is doing this. But, well, PSG Arsenal. It's going to be tough because it's going to be pretty tough to look at it. But the odds favor PSG. The odds favor them. One, they'll be playing at home. Number two, they have 1 goal advantage. And three, they have a strength advantage over Arsenal. They have a strength advantage. And with the goal advantage, they now have a mentality advantage. Arsenal will have to come up. Should PSG score the first goal at that second leg, Arsenal may be demoralized. And that would just make it really bad for them.
Okay, Paulo, I'm talking about Barcelona against Inter Milan. Yes, Barcelona will be traveling to San Siro to play against Inter Milan this time around. What is your take or what is your preview about that match?
Well, I think we are going to see another, entertaining match like we saw in the first leg. And to be honest, among the remaining 4 teams in the Champions League, I think Inter Milan had a team that they are very, very balanced. Looking at from defense, midfield, and attack with the way they play. And but it's going to be a very difficult one for both teams, and I expect to see goals from both teams again because Barca actually had the advantage in the first leg, playing at home. And we know Barcelona defensively. I don't think they are not better than Inter Milan when it comes to defensively. They are not better, but going forward, that's where Barca they are very good going forward. But we know Inter Milan, they are a team that likes to defend a lot, and I was even surprised Inter Milan got 3 goals in that first leg. They could have gotten more, but due to VAR, the last goal that was through that for offside. But I think it's about who wants to win. I mean, who wants it more that will determine the return leg in San Siro. Like he talked about PSG having advantage of we already 1 goal up. I think Inter will be looking at it that if we can go to Spain,
but there's no goal advantage. There's no
I know. Goal. No, what I'm saying is that they'll be looking at if we can go to Spain, and get those 3 goals. Though
it's more balanced right now.
Yeah,
it's just
it's
like
very, very balanced.
And
Inter will not. I don't think Inter will really attack like the way they did in the. If they can also get the first goal, that's when you see the real Inter. They defend a lot.
But funny enough to me, I don't really think Inter really played anything that much. It was just about them
That's
taking their chances against Barcelona.
Yeah.
Barcelona were actually the better side. They really outplayed Inter.
Yeah, it was due to Barcelona's unable to look at the goals they conceded. The first one, there was a lot of time for Dumfries to cross the ball, and what's his name now, Marcus Thuram, flicking that ball, nobody really closing down, and even the other 2 goals, the heading and the is it the scissors key now or back flick? How am I going to put it? But back at defensively, they are not that good. But going forward, that's where Barca is always dangerous. So I think Inter Milan will look at that, and Barcelona too needs to work on the defense. And I think they've recently lost one of their defenders. Talking about the guy from France, Juskunde. So let's see how they're going to cope without it.
Okay, we'll be looking out. We'll be coping without Juskunde for that return leg against San Siro. And the dog, and finally, yes, which players do you think are your key men going into that match against Inter Milan?
Okay, so Barca will be taking in the front line of attack Lamine Yamal. Lewandowski will be starting from the bench, very likely. Perhaps it could be risk to start, but more likely from the bench. Ferran Torres, very likely. Rafinha, definitely. And then in the midfield, we'll have the trio of Pedri, the young, as usual. And then we'll have the young man, Daniel Olmo, starting from there. Very, very likely. The back line will be changed now. Eric Garcia will be taking the place of Yals Koundé. And we still have Araujo on the bench. We have Christensen on the bench. And that 3rd position will likely be manned by Inigo Martinez, and which might mean Araujo might start the game. Because Gerard Martin.
Balde is also back.
Yes, if Balde can start, that would be wonderful.
Because there were a lot of sticks on Gerard Martin after that game against
the first goal was fully Gerard Martin's error, and it was from his side all the goals came from. Even the Mkhitaryan goal came from that side too. So I think the opposition or the opponents actually watched the game well and decided that was the best side to approach from. And then they went for it and they got it because his pace was sluggish. His defense mindset was not good enough. He allowed them too much room to operate from that side, and it wasn't quick enough. and he wasn't even supporting the attack. So he was just as useless as a dead limb in that game. Unfortunately, there was no better option to use. Hector Fort could not have done better. And they didn't think of using Inigo because Inigo didn't have the pace to play in the flanks. So, but I think this time, if Balde can be a starter in that game, that will have they should be able to have a better balance and fortify that side. So, Barca will be ready for that game. And I actually believe that with the way they played the first game, Barca should get the advantage in the second leg. They should get goals in that game, and they should be able to control Inter from getting into their dangerous positions.
Okay, and what about you, Paulo? Talking about that last game of the return leg, who do you think are going to be those key men who are going to make those decisions for us now?
Well, I think Thomas Partey, like I said earlier, will be very, very instrumental in that game when it comes back to his normal role. And Declan Rice, this time around, is going to push forward, including Mikel Merino, because to be honest, Mikel Merino has really tried. And if you look at that game in the first leg, I think he was also doing more. You see him going forward and coming back. He was playing as the number 8 in that game. But I think him going up for this time around will definitely make a difference.
Okay, yes, there's still everything to play for in the UEFA Champions League. It's going to be a thriller on Tuesday when Arsenal face off against PSG in Paris. On Wednesday, when they face off against PSG in Paris. And on Tuesday when Barcelona travels to Italy, San Siro to be specific, to play against Inter Milan. They are the defending champions of the Serie A, so there's still a lot to play for in the UEFA Champions League. It's always a pleasure having you guys in the studio.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
Okay, yes, so that's about how much we can take on the Premier Sports Fan Center, and it's a wrap for today's Talk Sport. Like, subscribe, and drop your takes in the comment section. We'll feature the best ones in our next week episodes. We come your way again on Saturday. It's bye for now.
Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Fan Center. Live it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button. Oh, and another goal for Super Eagles. This is Premier Sports Fan Center. Live it anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember to click that subscription button.